Joining me now to discuss the fallout from last night's budget is University of New South Wales economics professor Gigi Foster. Thank you so much for your time tonight. The federal government, you have said, should stop treating Australians like we're money-grubbing imbeciles and focus on structural issues like housing affordability, aged care and childcare issues. Did Labor deliver on those fronts?
Well, they certainly would like to have us believe that they did. I mean, what I find in this government's budget is conspicuously absent is a focus on the structural problems of Australia and really on accountability to the people of these decisions. So you see nowhere in this budget any defense of the various policies, the various line item expenditures that are going up or down on the basis that they are truly predicted to help Australia as a whole. And as an economist, that's my target. We want to lift Australian welfare as a whole. The budget is not or should not be an exercise in simply pandering to people who need more money because of mistakes the government has made, while also paying off the political lobbies and the other rich and powerful people who, of course, the government is quite aligned with in many different policy areas. So I think it's really, we need to be asking our government as a people to stop treating us like idiots and stop just thinking that they can hand money out willy-nilly without actually looking to the real structural problems that we have and coming up with some good economic advice that is transparent and can be replicable.
Now, there's been a lot of analysis today about how inflationary this budget is, whether it's going to lead to further interest rate increases. Did the Treasurer get the balance right in that respect?
Oh, look, no one has a crystal ball. And certainly the RBA doesn't. And you can tell that by how long it took them to start ratcheting up rates when we had already started creating an inflationary environment back in 2020 with the job seeker, job keeper, and all the other payments that were coming out because of the lockdowns, which themselves were not necessary. So, I mean, this entire mess is the fault of successive Commonwealth governments. And to expect that now when we increase payments to people, it's not going to be inflationary is a bit counter to economic logic. But if you had to defend it, you'd have to say, well, maybe they are rolling back expenses in some other area, or perhaps just increasing the tax take. And we do know that that is likely to happen. So it looks as though low and middle income earners will be paying more tax, which is going to offset these various handouts that have been crowed about in the press releases so far. And we also know that upper income earners are going to have those stage 3 tax cuts coming through. And there are also plenty of other breaks for people who are rich. So on net, perhaps there isn't going to be so much money going into working families' budgets that will be inflationary. But in other ways, I think it could very well be inflationary, the budget as a whole.
Now, you mentioned those stage 3 tax cuts. Are you confident at this stage that they're going to go ahead? I know there's a few people who think they're laying the groundwork to junk them at the next budget.
You never know. It's possible, but I think that the problem that any government has with cuts like this that have been promised to rich and influential people is it's very difficult not to deliver on that. Remember, our government is basically pandering to the people who are connected, not the Australian people as a whole. We're not getting policy that is good for the country as a whole. What we should be doing, I think, is thinking of ways in which we can increase the voice of the people in making decisions and resource allocations for this country. I've actually started a think tank about that called Australians for Science and Freedom, scienceandfreedom.org. And what we are looking for is ways to bring more direct democratic voice into politics so that we don't have this charade every budget where we're all told how much money we're going to get, the scraps from the master, while basically elite players get paid off in various ways that are not crowed about because they're somewhat embarrassing for the government to admit.
And we'll be looking at a little bit of that later in the program. Gigi Foster, thank you so much for your time this evening.